Oh, hey! I'm glad you're here. In this episode, I mentioned watching and revisiting Godfrey Ho movies. That was for last week's episode of 1-800-HOTDOG.com's podcast, The Dog Zone 9000. It's hosted by Sean Baby and Robert Brockway. They had me on as a Godfrey Ho expert, so I had watched all of his movies I had not seen, and I rewatched a few as well. As you may know, I'm a bit of a fan of Godfrey Ho, and we've covered a few on this podcast. So please go listen to that episode. We talk about Twinkle Ninja Fantasy. It's very hilarious, and it was an honor to be a guest in the Dog Zone 9000. Did you ever watch something when you were a kid and thought, who made this? Or is this for kids? Or why would anyone think this was good for children? My dad's video store had many of these things, from the peanut butter solution to the great land of small. It was shocking the things adults would come up with as entertainment for children, and that's what lies at the heart of today's episode. So I'm joined by Ryan from the New World Pictures podcast to tackle another of this bizarre entries into kinder trauma, perhaps? So, the guest is Ryan from New World Pictures podcast, the film is Carnival Magic, and this is VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns. Hello, and welcome to VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns, our alternate format where we first champion what is currently bringing us joy in the world of entertainment before we make a late return to a forgotten gem. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and my guest for this episode is one-third of the New World Pictures podcast. It's Ryan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Dirk. It's great to be back.
Yay! How is New World Pictures podcast going?
Oh, Dirk, it's going so badly. No, it is going great. We're having a blast on it. We're going to have you back. Just to tease that's
yes.
going to be happening this fall. I don't know when this is going to come out, but I'm imagining a few months from now or 6 weeks from now. That's my guess.
Okay, good guess.
Okay. And so I don't know what we'll be doing at that time, but things are going really, really well. If you're hearing this and it is 6 weeks from now, you can go back and you can listen to our comedy month in August. And we also did a Forbidden World July.
Yeah. It's been great, by the way.
So, yeah, we just had our first episode in our comedy month where we talked about The Wrong Guys.
Yes, I just finished it.
Oh, good. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
It was very good. Very funny.
Thank you very much. Yeah, our friend Tarek Davis comes back from that.
Mm-hmm.
I've known him for a long, long time. Great dude. Then we're going to talk to Daniel Waters, the screenwriter of Heathers.
Oh,
and
nice.
If we're going to talk about Pretty Smart, 1987's Pretty Smart, which is the debut of Patricia Arquette.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked to the director of Pretty Smart the week after that.
Oh, wow.
Dimitri Logothetis. He also directed a few other things, and now he's doing one of his latest films is Jiu-Jitsu with Nick Cage. So we talked a little bit with him, which came out in 2020.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a wild film.
Is weird.
He also did Slaughterhouse Rock, which recently got released. Yeah. Oh, I love that movie too. Yeah. So we talked to him about that.
Rad.
We talked about Jiu-Jitsu. We talked to him a lot about Pretty Smart. He's a really great guy. And Daniel Waters was just an absolute treat to talk to him. That was really amazing that all synced up like that. So things are going really good.
Awesome. Fantastic. Love to hear it. That brings us to new releases, and we start with print. Anything you're currently reading?
Yes, I'm currently reading, and I think you know this book. I'm currently reading It Came from the Video Aisle.
Yes.
Which is the book about Full Moon Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about 100 and so pages in already. I'm through the whole Paramount era.
Yes.
And realizing that I have not seen as many Full Moon movies as I thought. That's the thing about it. It's sort of told a little bit out of order. So that's another element of it that I'm sort of like reading and then looking the movies up and kind of looking at, how this all got put together. But I thought I had a decent handle. I'm not a big, huge Full Moon guy, sure. But I thought, I've seen a good amount of them. But I'm like, no, I have not. There's a lot I have not seen, actually. So I've now been also then watching some of the movies as well. So I'm kind of watching that. I like to read books like that. Obviously, we do a lot of research and stuff for New World Pictures. I have a lot of books about New World Pictures. So this was kind of fun for me to kind of look at something about another company. And it's also, I don't have to sit there and read it from beginning to end. I can kind of pick it up. And so in the meantime, I also started reading. I'm barely into only a couple of chapters into this book, but I'm reading Dead Girl Blues by David Sodergren.
I don't know this one.
He's a Scottish writer, and this is a giallo book. This book is
Oh,
a giallo story, and so I'm showing the yellow cover that he has to it. And I sort of found this guy on Twitter and saw that he'd written a giallo novel, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll order
oh,
that.
that's cool.
And I'm a couple chapters in, and it's a giallo
That's wild.
in book form, and I'm like, okay, you
Wow.
delivered, my friend. So far so good. I'm barely cracked into it, but I'm enjoying it so far.
And what was that title again?
Dead Girl
Dead
Blues by
Girl
David
Blues.
Sodergren.
Okay. I recently had a birthday and I got Warlock.
Happy
Thank
birthday!
you. Warlock, Titan Arch. Wait, is that the one? The creature movie?
A Titan Find?
Titan Find.
Yes,
Ti-
yes.
uh,
I have that one. I have a tab up of that.
oh,
It's just waiting for me to click buy. I'm like,
oh
I
my
want that
gosh.
one.
I saw it sold out like when they did a sale and I just kept
Right.
thinking about it and then
Uh-huh.
somebody tweeted and it popped up. Anyway, I got it for my birthday and so I got that Warlock and another book that are just I'm waiting to dig into, but my wife got me
Cool.
a book I used to have, which is Derek Jarman's The Garden, which was one of my favorite books
Yeah.
from Derek Jarman, and it's I mean, I was like a teen, I was getting very into like avant-garde cinema stuff and then noticing that like wait, Derek Jarman did the visuals for Pet Shop Boys music videos and like all I was like seeing his name all over this stuff. Coil worked with Derek Jarman. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm into the same thing that like my favorite band is
Oh yeah,
into."
cool.
And then when I read The Garden and it's like it's about him and he's dying and he has this house and he starts this
Mm-hmm.
garden in these rocks where really nothing should grow, but he starts
Sure.
growing something at the time that he's wasting away and the symbolism and everything in it. I was just like I loved it so much. And now I have a garden, but I didn't have that book, and so my wife gave it
Yeah.
to me, and I'm like, yes. So
Oh,
I'm
cool.
I'm digging back through that.
I
So.
was just listening to your new releases, late returns today with Lindsay Wilkins,
Oh,
and you talked about the book in that,
oh,
and I was
perfect.
like, that sounds super interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, I wonder how many times I repeat the things that I'm reading.
Books take time.
That's
It
true.
makes sense.
That's
It
true.
takes time.
Yeah. Next is music. Is there anything musically that's bringing you any joy currently? I like your
Yeah.
skinny puppy shirt, by the
Oh,
way.
thank you. This is a street tee I bought years ago when Mark and I, my brother and co-host,
Yeah.
we went down and saw them in downtown Los Angeles. And it's really it's gone through some washes, so it's
Yeah.
all starting to fall apart. But I got it from the artisans of the street.
Oh.
I like to get the t-shirts off people that, print them on their own and then
Yeah.
hand them out and sell them after the concert. That's what I'm like, I could buy a $40 t-shirt, or I
Sure.
can buy a $10 t-shirt
Yep.
from this entrepreneur out here on the road. And so I prefer to do that.
Nice.
I've tried to just grab a couple here because I'm
Yeah.
a big vinyl
Yes.
collector, I
I love
guess.
that.
Collector seems like an odd word. I love music, so I buy a lot of records,
Yeah.
but I guess that's called a record collector. I feel like I just love music. So I'm just going to run through a couple. This is I just got this. This is Monument um by Molchat Doma. They're like a Belarusian trio that do a lot of dark wave sort of goth inspired tunes, not in
What?
English, which is kind of interesting, and it totally
Huh.
works.
Like Wolfsheim or not as poppy as something like that?
I This one's like a little, this new album is going into a lot more keyboards and sort of
Mm.
synth pop
Mm-hmm.
territory,
Cool.
but still with a lot, a sort of that, goth, as we used to call it. Dirk, I'm sure Dirk, you and
Yes.
I both called it goth back in
Still
the day.
call
It's
it.
now called dark wave now.
Yeah.
But it's sort of those kind of bass lines, but like a little bit more of a synth pop thing going on.
This
But their
sounds like my
previous
jam.
record was really very like, sort of dark wave goth stuff.
Cool.
And Erica, my wife and co-host, she found them during the pandemic and just found them, I think, randomly, like on Instagram or something. It was like, listen to these guys, and I was like, that sounds totally up my street. So
Yeah.
we got way into them. So this is the new album, or I think the new album. This is Deserta.
Mm.
They're like a trio, I believe, out here in LA, and I've seen them live a few times. They're sort of a I like a lot of goth stuff. I like a lot of shoegaze stuff.
Yep. Same.
This is definitely a little bit more in that shoegaze sort of territory.
Cool.
The drummer to this band is absolutely tremendous, and he plays a real kit, but it sounds like a drum machine. Unbelievable to listen to
Wow.
him. It's
Okay.
so wild, and he's terrific. Also got the new album, Now You Know It Still Feels the Same, by Pia Fraus, which is also sort of a I would say it's a little bit like a shoegazy, but a pop band.
Mm-hmm.
They're from Tallinn, Estonia.
Oh,
And
Estonia.
yeah, so this is their new record. I'm a big fan of them and have been for quite some time. So I've just kind of been following them. And during the pandemic, I got a bunch of other records, and then they put out a brand new one. Lastly,
Nice.
Kills Birds.
I don't know Killsbirds either.
They are an LA band, and this one's a little bit more punk rather than post punk. This is a
Mm.
little bit more of a punk record, but it goes in some really cool directions. And this one's a little bit more like I'm ready to kind of pick it up a little bit. I kind of want to
Yeah.
get a little energy going. Mark and I, right before the pandemic closed everything down, the last show we saw, Kills Birds opened for the San Diego band that we were going to see called Hot Snakes.
Oh yeah.
And they opened, and we were like, these guys are great.
I love it when that happens.
I walked away with their record.
Yeah.
I'd already had the Hot Snakes record. So I went away with their record. And then this is the new album that just came out called Married, and really good. I was like listening to it on Bandcamp for a while, and then I was like, what am I doing? I'm going to buy the record. It's so good. So just a few things that I've been listening to. I have way more because
Yeah.
I love music and I have music on all the time. And I don't know if you've seen pictures, but I have like a wall of vinyl.
No, but I want to see. Send me that picture.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
My wife has to endure a lot because she does not own lots of stuff, and I own lots of stuff.
Yeah. Same.
Guys are nuts.
We have like a spare room, and that's what became the podcast studio. And it
Right.
also has like 6,000 CDs in it.
Yeah.
And I mean,
You're looking at, but I can't see.
Yeah,
it,
right. And my wife and I both had vinyl. She loved records
Mm.
too. And then I DJ'd, so I had even more because I was buying all these white label remixes and all this other
Oh,
stuff
sure.
that
Okay.
you couldn't get anywhere.
I was about to say I was a DJ too, but I DJ'd like bars and
We
a
did
couple
too.
weddings and
Yeah.
just did that. I did buy a lot of that kind of stuff too, but I
Mhm.
never really got to do like a cool set like that.
Yeah, I looked out
Um,
that in the 90s when rave culture hit, like early 90s, over here, my best friend Aaron, he got into DJing. So he got the two
mm,
Techniques turntables and the mixer,
Yep.
started
Mhm.
getting into beat matching. And so then I would play around with him. And then when I moved to Portland when I was 22, we'd always kind of done little mixtapes and stuff, but combining like a Roland 303 and a effects thing, and then the two turntables and then a microphone. And then we were living together here, and we said, let's just start a DJ project. So we called it DJ Sharon Needles because we thought, obviously, there's the pun there. And now there's a drag queen way later. But at the time, we thought it was very funny to have these two pale little guys that were DJs and put this lady on the flyer so people would show up to see this hot babe DJ. And instead, these little trolls back there. And then our whole thing was playing 2 songs each. So you'd mix out of whatever you were given and then leave somebody something that was probably nearly impossible to mix. We would go everywhere from like Wolfsheim to Journey to, weird indie stuff. It was the early 2000s. So I don't know, a White Stripes white label would get put in there or something. We'd always at midnight, around midnight, we'd play Sisters of Mercy. People just would go crazy for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was really fun. But needless to say, I just have tons of records and CDs.
Sure.
and
I've seen pictures of your setup. I really dig it. I love the sort of record bin.
Yeah, it feels like
thing
the
that you
store.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really dig that.
My first job after the movie store was a music store, and so I just liked the aesthetic. Sarah was super into it, so I was like, that's cool. And what I've been listening to is old stuff. A friend of mine bought tickets to see Nine Inch Nails here in Portland, and he's not going,
cool.
so he's giving us the tickets. So we're
Oh,
gonna
wow.
go, and it's like an outdoor not festival, but it's just an outdoor concert. And I was laughing because it's like where 80s bands play. It'll be like 3 80s bands, and now for some reason it's gonna be Nine Inch Nails, but we're gonna go. So I stopped listening to Nine Inch Nails when they put out the double album.
Yeah, me too.
That's when
Isn't
I
that
stopped.
weird?
Yes, and so there's a lot I haven't heard. So I've been
Totally.
going back through, except for the
Okay.
song from Twin Peaks: The Return, which I love.
Yeah.
So now I'm going back through those early 2000s albums and being like, should I acquaint myself? Is this for me? It's been hit or miss, but when I was really into them, The Broken, Fixed, leading up to The Downward Spiral, of course, Pretty Hate Machine, I was very in then. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was in. I still have my record of
Same.
Pretty Hate Machine.
Yeah.
I bought in immediately and saw them live back in the day.
Yes.
And at the same time, and I have been looking because I love his soundtrack work.
Yeah.
And so I've been like wait, I thought they broke up or
Yeah.
something, they don't exist, right?
Yeah.
Because I just stopped paying attention. Of course they haven't. They've been doing great. And
Still
so I'm
going.
so curious. You got to tell me what you think, because I've been thinking about doing the same thing. I'm like, I should listen to some of these. I love these guys. Why
Yeah.
don't I listen to some of this
There
stuff? I haven't heard it in forever.
The album with The Hand That Feeds on it is very much like it reminds me of like they listen to The Faint and we're like, oh,
Mm.
I see what we should be doing now. Like, because I think they, after the metal phase, he's like, what am I going to do? Because I can't just keep doing this. So there's some interesting stuff in there. The two EPs that came out around the time that he did the song for the Twin Peaks Return, those have some really good stuff on it. It has this kind of,
Okay.
it's slower, but it's got that dark, menacing kind of vibe that we kind of came up on after
Okay.
Pretty Hate Machine, really. But yeah, it's enjoyable. And then the other thing is, Sarah got us tickets to see Dead Can Dance next year. And
Oh,
so,
wow. Yeah.
we just saw Bauhaus, and so we're like, cool,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Awesome.
go see Dead Can Dance. And
Have you seen them before?
no, I don't think I have. I think what happened was I had the opportunity to go and I didn't go because my favorite era of Dead Can Dance is the beginning of Dead Can Dance.
Yeah. Yep.
And what I came up through when I discovered them, it was kind of the slow Egyptian Dead Can Dance, which is still good and moody, but it's like
Uh-huh.
it's Brendan Perry's very slow and it's cozy listening. Red wine, light a candle, maybe
Yep.
some Nag
Yep.
Champa, Dead Can
Hmm.
Dance era Into the Labyrinth I'm talking about. But those early post-punk albums are fantastic, and I
Their
really like
post-punk stuff
those.
is what got me.
Yes, it's
And
very good.
I think I got like an EP of theirs like a few years ago, which
Mm.
is again sort of like what I call their I don't know, their art appreciation
Yes,
period
yeah.
where they just sort of were like, we love art and we just want to make great songs that would be like perfect if you were going to go to an art gallery and see the works that adorn our covers.
Yeah,
And nothing against that. They're great records too. I like those too. But the
sure.
post-punk stuff was like what
Yes.
I really dug. But they were deep into that period when I saw them. And I think it's been since the 90s since I saw them
Oh,
play
yeah.
live.
Yeah,
But that was kind of what they were sort of deep into. But they would still play a
sure.
couple of the old, some of the old stuff,
That's
which is
good.
nice. But yeah,
That's how
that's cool. And how did you like Bauhaus?
well, Peter Murphy was very angry through the set. There's an article written about it
Yeah.
because it was their first show from this tour. I mean, they still got it. Stigmata, he did the whole thing with the mic stand behind his arms, so he was in the cross
Hmm.
pose, and it was awesome. My favorite thing was as we were walking towards the theater, just seeing other goths on the streets and being like, hey, there's some of our people, there's some of our people, until we were just in a sea of our people. It was awesome. It was super fun, aside from how angry he was. But it was also interesting because I realized how much of Bela Lugosi's Dead is dub influenced, and I just
Mm.
never thought about it. But when you listen to that, it's way more dub than what people would consider goth later on.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Even the beats
Yeah,
got kind of, I
it's
was
the
going to say it's got ska vibes,
yeah,
which would be like, well, yes,
yes,
because
you're great.
if you go before ska,
Yep.
this is how cool I am. I was in a goth band in high school. And of course,
Whoa.
we did Bela Lugosi's Dead as
Yeah.
a cover, as well as Sisters of Mercy.
Which song?
We did Marianne.
Nice. You
We did
guys were
Marianne
goth.
and we did,
That's the most goth of theirs.
I know, right? I think we did Marianne. Yeah, I think that's what we did. We also did For Her Light by Fields of the Nephilim.
Nice.
And we wrote our own originals. So just the coolest.
Yeah.
And, growing up in San Diego, you can imagine my
Right.
popularity was just off the charts. Look at this cool guy who loves goth music and sketch comedy. What a cool guy.
Oh man, you're just listening to Black Tape for a Blue Girl and watching New World
Yeah,
Pictures
Kids in the
films.
Hall.
Yeah.
Just being like, yep, this is me. Yeah.
Oh man, I love that.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Which brings us to games. Are you playing any
Oh,
games?
Dirk, this is, as a big fan of your show,
Oh, thank you.
I always listen intently to when you guys talk about games because I love games and gaming, but I have not been playing for the past few years.
Yeah.
It's like our kids are growing up. I used
Sure.
to, if they were going to play video games, they'd have to play with me.
Same. That's
Right?
where I'm at now.
I'm like, okay, you got to play with me and I'll play with you. And so it was a lot of playing a lot of the Lego games,
Mhm.
that was always a blast. Lego Marvel superheroes, Lego Star Wars, Lego, whatever, Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, things like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'll play what I want later. But
Same.
the kids have kind of like really gotten into it and got into Minecraft.
Same.
As a parent, you're just sometimes, especially you have two kids, you're just like, they're like, can I play? And you're like, yeah, because I get like a minute
Yeah.
to collect myself,
Which is a lot. That's a long time.
which is a lot, which you need.
They can need
You know?
things every 3 seconds. It's insane.
Yeah. So you're like, yeah, do that. So then when it comes to actually playing the game, it's like, I really can't. And I can't play some of the stuff I like because I have to wait till they're in bed.
Yep.
So what I have been playing and have been playing for some time is Far Cry 6.
Nice.
Which I'm still probably in the middle of, but it's taking me longer, clearly so much longer than any person that would like to consider themselves a gamer, because I can't play that game around. And my son has seen a little bit of it and is like, play that game. Like
That's how my
loves
daughter
it.
was too. And my wife was like, "You just shot that man in the face," and I was like, "It's a video game. I don't know."
Right. I kind of had to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take back this island from this dictator. It's important. I'm a good person doing bad things. Yeah. So Erica, my wife, is the same thing. Well, anyway, like, you can't play this game around them.
Right.
Don't play. It's very violent and bloody. And they say the F word all the time.
Constantly.
Which is not a huge deal in this house because my wife says the F word around our house all the time. So she's already, that cat's out of the bag in this house. It's too late to go back because she's got quite the dirty mouth and cannot contain that very well around the children. She does her best, but she can't quite do it.
Nice.
So the bad words part wasn't the bad part. The shooting people in the face is something she was like, you kind of need to chill. So I just got a new Xbox. It's probably been a little while now, but that's basically the only game I have so far with it, because I'd love to get some more games, but I can't play them around the kids. So that, and also what we watch, is the challenge.
Sure.
We have to kind of wait till they're in bed,
Yep.
and then so we're getting close. Our kids are getting older, and so we're getting a little close. One of them is going to get so much older that she won't care about anything we're doing, so we'll have that.
Oh yeah.
So
that's a
she'll be
treat.
Yeah, she'll be just totally disinterested in anything we have going on. So that'll be that. And then our youngest will still be into it, so we're sort of have to wait a little bit longer so that he can kind of handle what he's watching. But yeah, you know the struggle.
I get it. Currently, I'm playing Fall Guys with my daughter. Have you played Fall Guys? It's a free game on the platforms, and it's basically like little jelly bean people, and you're just running through like the cutest obstacle course. So
I love it.
It's just a race, but very low stakes, super cute. It's goofy. It's fun. You get little outfits to put on your little jelly bean people.
That's perfect. I've now got a third controller, so now I'm going to start.
There you go.
We start going, let's all play.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was going to say, we recently took my daughter to the arcade. She loves arcades. And she's like, "Dad, let's play this game." And it was Mario Kart. And you and I were talking about how I don't drive. And so we got on, and she's like, "What are these pedals for?" And I said, "One's the brake and one's the gas, but I couldn't tell you which one's which." And she's like, "What?" And then
the furthest one to the right is the gas.
Okay. She beat me, so I apparently had the wrong one.
The one in the middle, at least for me, is the brake. The one on the left is to switch gears, but most cars aren't going to bother with that.
Mario Kart doesn't have Donkey Kong switching gears.
You don't shift gears. No. It doesn't have a clutch.
Oh, God.
It should to capture the realism that Mario deserves.
So that's really all video games for me. I haven't been playing anything in the evening. Jail's been out of town. So I've just been watching movies and TV, really. Speaking of TV, anything you're watching that's episodic?
Yes, this is another thing that I feel like I'm giving a disappointing answer. But we have not watched a ton of TV because we're trying to watch movies and we have such a small window. Yeah. But we did just finish the new season of Stranger Things, or rather the 4th season.
I've heard of it.
Not to say new. The 4th season. We finished the 4th season. We're planning to do a rewatch. We want to rewatch Justified, which is a show we really like, but that's an old show at this point.
Still counts.
And eventually we're going to get to, hopefully, The Boys season 3, which I really want to watch because we watched the first 2 seasons and I read the comic. But that's basically it. We have not watched. I mean, do you watch America's Got Talent? Like, when we watch stuff with the kids, we have to find stuff that's like age appropriate.
Oh,
you know,
sure.
So American Ninja Warrior, the kids love that. There's cooking competition shows and things like that we're like trying to do, because it's very hard to find stuff. Like I said, where I think that kids are both almost to an age where we can like start watching
Right.
a bit more stuff. That said, I feel like my parents did not at all edit what they were like,
Yeah,
this is what
yeah.
we're watching. We don't care that you're 6. This is it. So I don't know why we're curating things so much for them to shield them from things, but we are. And in an attempt to assuage our own feelings about whether or not we're good parents, we're trying to do that. But so we haven't watched a ton of like episodic TV, is what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. So
We
Stranger Things is the newest and the freshest that we've watched.
just finished Keep Breathing, which is on Netflix. It just came
Okay.
out. Basically, a lady is on a plane that she talked herself onto, and it crashes, and she's the only survivor. And it's just kind of about how she's gonna survive the whole thing. Oh, and
Hmm.
it's like 90% flashbacks, which is the only downside for me, because it's just,
Okay.
I'm constantly like, oh yeah, she's gonna have to go in the water, and it's freezing because it's like Alaska, and she's gonna have to try to get the bags out of the plane. And then suddenly we're in her old workplace or at like a wedding or something, and I was like,
Okay.
it just sucks all the tension out for me. I get it as a
Ah.
storytelling device, but it's one of my least favorite things is when people are constantly being. And my wife was like, "Well, it's just one person," and I'm like, "I'm cool with that. I'm like, put me there. Like, let's just sit there and stew in the idea that there's a bear and this is terrifying and she could poison herself." But I think it's shot really well. The acting's very solid. It's a real bear. I think the trees are real. They're actually in a place, which feels good to see a movie that's not just shot in those 360 TV screens or whatever that they
Yeah,
do now.
right, right.
Like you've just
Oh yeah, I guess there's that. We watch a lot of Disney Plus stuff
yeah.
because that's all.
Hmm.
That's all the Marvel. We watch all that stuff, and that's pretty much all what they used to call front projection.
Right.
But now it's just like we have a couple rocks,
Yep.
and then the rest of the vista around you is all digital.
Yeah, which I get, do whatever you're gonna do, but it just has a certain look, and you can tell when
Yeah,
someone's
yeah,
actually at a lake, and it's just
right.
like,
Correct, correct.
So Keep Breathing. I recommend it if I didn't sour anyone on it with the flashbacks.
Yeah, it sounded a little losty from just the initial concept you
There is
mentioned,
a
and
smoke
so.
monster.
But also Yellow Jackets.
Oh
There's
yeah,
always going to be
flashbacks.
flashback aspect. Is like we only have so much story to tell
Right.
you up front, so we have to go to the back to just fill in
Yeah.
all the stuff and let you know who the characters are. And
Yep. There's a
I
lot
mean,
of
it's a
that.
device, and
It
it's
works.
it's fine.
It's totally fine.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'd rather sit in that, but then
Yeah.
the episode would be, or the season would be like 3 or 4 episodes long,
Yeah.
and then they'd be done.
Just long periods of time where she's just sitting. Where you're like, did you see the last episode? Yeah, did she just sit for an hour and a half? She did. I loved it. It was kind of nice. We never just sit with anything anymore.
Right.
I turned my phone off and just sat with her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could happen. Which brings us to movies. Anything you've seen
Mm.
recently, movie-wise?
There is. I was thinking about some of the movies I've watched recently, and it's been a very odd mixed bag of things. When I was thinking of it, like, what have I recently watched? I was like, I guess this tells you a little something about me and my tastes. We just recently took a trip. So on the plane, I had downloaded some movies. So I watched Messiah of Evil
Nice.
on the plane because,
Yes.
that's cool. I definitely had to tilt the screen down. I was like, I have my own thing to watch on my tablet, and it was just like, oh, I don't want someone to see some of this stuff, which is a trippy, weird movie that I had not seen yet. So
Oh, awesome. I love Messiah of Evil.
it is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of really dug it. It's kind of a miracle that movie is as good as it
Yeah.
is because they didn't even finish shooting it, and they took it away and edited it on their own, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's half art film and half a horror film.
Mhm.
I think there's bits and pieces though where it drags just a little bit
Sure,
for me,
yeah.
but that could have been the plane experience. So I'm looking forward to it. What's interesting is that I actually own the disc,
Oh, yeah.
but I watched it. I downloaded and watched it on the plane.
It's really good on a boat. I recommend, since you did plane, just rewatch it on a boat.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I think that will help. If anything, the waves will lull me into a
Yes.
into a canatonic state. Eric and I just recently watched The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent,
Yes.
which we had a great time with.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Nick Cage is obviously great.
I thought he was fantastic in it.
Yeah, I thought he was super fun. I think he is so in on the joke. He's so in on the joke that
Yeah.
I feel like he's making his own jokes. It's like he really was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make a movie about fictional me. And I just enjoyed the hell of it. And also his chemistry with Pedro Pascal
Yeah.
is the reason to watch it.
Did you hear about the tattoos?
I didn't. Did they get tattoos?
He had the makeup person cover up some of his tattoos, Nicolas Cage, And
Okay.
they're like, but you're playing you. And he's like, yeah, but this me would have less tattoos. And I'm like, that's like another layer. That's like, I love that.
Yeah. It was really, really, really fun.
Yeah.
I would say, to nitpick, the Tiffany Haddish stuff
Mm-hmm.
was a little. I almost felt like you could have had a bit more of it because it was so sidelined, and
Mm-hmm.
it's clear that there was more of it, especially her with Ike Barinholtz. There's clearly a bit more there because Ike Barinholtz disappears for a good deal of the movie, and then he
Yeah.
shows back up and he is slumped into a chair, and you're like, we missed something.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's to nitpick. It's a super fun movie, and it
Yeah.
was one of those movies we were just like, it's late. Let's put something on that's fun, and we laughed and enjoyed the heck out of it. The Paddington 2 line kills me. I loved it.
Yep.
So super fun. Speaking of plane flights, I also, when we took the plane back, I did not have much time because my screen didn't work and everything else. So the flight attendant had to like restart it, like the little screen
Oh,
on the
yeah.
behind in front of me. So I had to find something to watch. And what's funny is that I have the disc, but I have not seen this movie. I bought the disc because I was like, this is a classic Western and I love Westerns. So let's watch this. And I haven't yet. So I was like, well, this is perfect because it's only like an hour and 10 minutes or so. And I'm talking about High Noon,
Oh, yep.
which I had somehow not seen. And I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But I'm watching this. It's on the plane. It's on the back of the, like, there's so many options. And
Right.
I was like, wow, I'm really an old man because here I am. Well, let's watch High Noon.
High Noon
Like,
sounds like a doozy.
and during it, it would like sometimes just stop and pause. And it was like, it was taking some time for the streaming to kick up. And I think it was because maybe, I don't know, their internal servers were like, someone's watching High Noon with that file. We haven't used this file at all. This is crazy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
The last two I will bother you with is I watched Damned Hot Day of Fire,
I don't know this one.
which has got a million names, aka Gatling Gun. It's a spaghetti Western.
Okay.
It is with Robert Woods. I saw another spaghetti Western with Robert Woods, and he was so unappealing in it. My name is Picos, and
Yeah.
and that movie is fine. It's not terrible. It's in like a set that I got from Arrow, their Vengeance Trails set, and it's okay. It's certainly the least of all the four films in that set. But I was like, let's see if there's anything to this Robert Woods guy. All I can say about Damned Hot Day of Fire is that it's actually a pretty fun movie.
Okay.
Pretty fun. Like, I think there's better spaghetti Westerns, but it's got some good stuff. I still am not sold, however, on Robert Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I plan to watch more of his movies because I want to see what the deal is.
Got to get to the bottom of it.
And he did so many Italian films. So I'm like, I've got to see what's happening. And a lot of times I think it's got to be, he probably didn't dub himself very often. I'm not 100% if he dubbed himself on this or if it was somebody else. But I enjoyed it. And lastly, I watched She.
Oh, yes.
The 1984's She.
I
with
love
my
it.
Thursday night movie group, which was just amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved that film.
Mm-hmm.
It touches every single subgenre.
Yes.
I think that there is. It was mixing Excalibur and Zardoz and some like Deathstalker 4. If that is a reference people get. It is kind of all those combined, and yet also werewolf vampire people and cultists. It literally has everything. It has everything in one film.
Yeah, I love She. It's one of those VHS boxes that we had in the video store that, like, every time I saw it, I'd just kind of stop and just look at it and be like, yeah, this is awesome. This image is awesome. And then I'd watch the movie and be like, I don't know if they're linked, but it was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's linked either, but I will say I have a Thursday night movie group, so we all watch movies and we hang out on Zoom.
Yeah.
And we've done this throughout the pandemic and are still going. And I was like, this is an instant classic.
Yes.
I was so in. The soundtrack is dedicated to the entire 80s.
Yeah.
It goes everywhere in the 80s. There's a lot of metal, but there's also a lot of pop. There's a lot of stuff in there. It had a lot of fights. I would say that as good as Sandal Bergman is,
yeah,
she still feels like a side character in this, even though she is she.
Yeah.
She really should be more important in the film called She. But it seems to be more about these two brothers, which is a bit of... I'm not sure why they took so much precedent. It's not like you rent a movie or watch a movie called She and you go, I hope this is about a couple
I
dudes.
hope this is about the brothers.
Yeah. I hope it's about a couple brothers who are on a quest to find their sister.
Yeah,
That would be great.
so good.
And then she comes along. I just loved it. I had, and that was a movie that, again, another blind spot for me. That same thing. I had seen that a million times in a
Mhm.
video store, and for some reason had just never bothered with it. I almost bought the Blu-ray a couple times. I was like,
Yeah.
I should get that. And then I was like, I don't know. And then we finally watched it, and I was like, why have I been holding out on
Looks like
this?
I'm buying it.
This is like, oh, I'm definitely going to be buying it. It is terrific.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. Super fun.
That's awesome. I've been watching a lot, but it's all for episodes and guest
Okay.
spots.
But you've been watching some Godfrey Ho stuff. Don't hold out on us.
Well, and I was gonna say, except for some Godfrey Ho.
Yeah, I know.
Some of it I watched for a upcoming podcast, but I recently revisited Robo Vampire, Phoenix the Ninja,
which is so good.
yeah,
Love that one.
and Bionic Ninja. Those are the three Godfrey Ho's.
I got to see those other two. Godfrey Ho is. I don't think I have disliked a single Godfrey Ho movie I've watched, and I'm not going to say I've watched a ton.
Yeah,
This is definitely another person where, as the movie we're about to talk about,
yeah.
that's a director where I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that I need to watch. But
Yeah.
what I have watched of Godfrey Ho, I have loved.
Yeah, I can say right now that I have seen every Godfrey Ho thing that I can find, and I've looked
Okay.
pretty heavily under alias names, different titles. I was having a conversation with someone, and they were inviting me to come on their podcast to talk about a Godfrey Ho movie. They said, well, you've seen all his movies. And it pained me when I had to say no. And so I just really kicked it in. If you've been following me on Twitter, you've seen this. I've been really on the Ho train. And so I've just been watching all of these and loving it. And I've watched so many in a short amount of time that my brain can't keep track of what's happening
they
because
blur.
of how
Yeah.
he cuts the films together and
Sure.
sometimes reuses characters and footage from other movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it so much. And the reason that I love Godfrey Ho is that he gets the assignment. He's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's a ninja movie. And you're like, okay, what kind? And he's like, Bionic? And you're like, I want to see it already. And he's like, great. He just knows about the titles, and then he cuts them together, and even if the Hong Kong crime film he's using to really kind of fill out most of the runtime isn't entertaining, at the top of every syndicate or anything is ninjas. And so it's like, it's a win every time. And then the second the movies end, I mean, like someone explodes or whatever, and then it just goes the end. There's no wrapping anything up. He's like, you got what you wanted. I'm out of here. You should get out of here. This is illegal. And I love his movies.
We're going to talk about this very thing, I feel like, but in a second. But he's an exploitation director.
Yeah.
Guys that understand exploitation films. I've been watching a lot of, I want to see all of them, Brian Trenchard Smith movies.
Yeah.
Who I just adore.
Same.
I love him.
Yep.
New World Pictures released 2 of his films. We have not talked about either of them yet.
Ooh.
But I'm excited to.
Yes.
I've been basically pushing my co-hosts for us to watch Turkey Shoot, aka Escape 2000, for a while, but it has not occurred yet. I love his films.
Yeah.
He understands the assignment. What you're saying is you get it. You get what you're trying to do. You're trying to provide people a certain good time. You understand the elements you're trying to give them. And that's an exploitation director.
Yes.
And Godfrey Ho's an exploitation director.
Yeah.
Brian Trenchard Smith understands what he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to his commentaries, they're so great because he knows what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to give people a certain amount of entertainment value based on the story that he has.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to like do too much or try to do something. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's trying to do something a little bit grand on the side, but you know, generally he knows I got to give you these things so you can be entertained by what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I love his 2 Leprechauns for that
Yeah,
same
yeah.
fact because the Leprechaun movies, your
Sure.
mileage may vary.
Sure.
On the Leprechaun, not one of my absolute favorite horror series, but his 2 entries are like, you're watching a Leprechaun movie.
Right.
I mean, let's just do this, you know? And so I love directors that do that,
Same.
that are like, I'm not going to waste your time. You know what this is. Let's just get to it.
Yeah.
And Godfrey Ho feels like one of those guys too, that just is like, I'm not going to set up half an hour of
Right.
exposition. Let's just dive in.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry. You want to get to the robo vampires.
Yes.
You
I mean,
don't wanna-
my favorite thing in a movie is when it shows you something you just haven't seen before. And you're just like, I will sit through an entire movie just to see something. Just show me one scene where something happens that I haven't seen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I loved that so much. Like, it just fills my heart. And Godfrey Ho movies so many of them have that moment where you're just like, well, a ninja's never done that before. Like, he just
I love
had
it.
30 plates he's throwing at him. Why does he have plates? And they're not like, that's the ninja that throws plates. He just starts throwing plates, and you're like, I guess this is what's happening. And I love it so much. I don't know if you heard the first episode of this season with Rodney from the Dead Milkmen.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
Sons of Steel, that one.
I wish, because we have been a little busy with the podcast.
Yeah.
I've been editing like crazy, and we took an actual week off and went somewhere as a
Yeah, felt good
on vacation. We took a vacation. We actually did that. So I've been a little bit off on watching stuff because based on that episode, long story short, I bought that movie, and
great.
I would have liked to have mentioned that I saw it on this podcast, but I have yet to watch it, but I have it. It's sitting in front of me.
When you do, tweet at me, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
I will.
That's a movie where we talk about it in that episode, but the main guy warps onto this giant stone pillar in this industrial like factory, and he's singing this song, but there's also a barbarian and a lady that's like leather clad there, and when it's cut to the guy singing, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm watching this 80s exploitation post-apocalypse musical, but then it cuts back to the barbarian, and you're like, oh, right, the barbarian's there. And it's just that mismatch, and that's what Godfrey Ho does so well, is because you're watching one movie, and then he basically changes the channel, and you're like, oh, there's a lady riding a giant snake. That's right. That's what this is. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. When people understand the assignment, that doesn't always mean that the assignment means the same thing to them.
Yeah. That's
you know what I mean? So his like, well, we need something new and exciting, but what that may mean to him or might mean to Brian Trenchard Smith or to Albert Pune or to somebody like that is going to be different.
Yeah. I love Godfrey
What
Ho
do I need?
Like,
I need something here.
Yeah.
What that is going to be up to the, the beholder there.
Yeah.
And so that's what's fun.
I love hopping vampires, but what hasn't fought a hopping vampire before? I know. My version of RoboCop.
Right.
It's like,
exactly.
What? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Genius. Oh, man. Oh, no. It's time for our late return. And
yes!
It's to Carnival Magic from 1983. My first note is, this is a family film, ?
No, it is not. Just to take people behind the curtain, we were supposed to record this episode a while ago.
Yeah.
But you were like, oh, Carnival Magic. And this has been released on Blu-ray by Severin, so you can purchase it yourself.
Yep, Severin
and
Kids.
I did.
It's their kids line.
Their kids line. And so I ordered it, and I thought it was going to show up earlier than it did. It took a little bit. Nothing against Severin, but it just took its time.
Yeah.
And so finally I got it. So then we watched it. But I was like, no, I'm going to watch this one. And the reason is because when you came on our show, we talked about a kid's movie as well. That is not a kid's movie. So I don't know if that is why you chose it, but as soon as you showed me the cover, I was like, no, I gotta watch this Carnival movie that Dirk has chosen, because I don't know why. So please just tell me, why did you pick this one?
Okay. So obviously I was on for the Great Land of Small on New World Pictures podcast.
Which is not made by somebody who understands the assignment, because no one knows what that assignment is for that movie.
Exactly.
Everyone, even people in it, have to be confused.
Yeah, only Slimo knew. There's a specific flavor of these films that existed in video stores where they were like, it's a family film just because it wasn't rated R or whatever. And so as kids, you'd be tricked by these Darby and the Little People movies and things where you'd be like, I guess this is fun. And then you'd watch it as a kid and you'd be like, this is not fun.
No.
Why did I rent this? And then you just had to sit with it because that was it. That's all. The other option is to watch the news. And so you're just like, I guess I'll watch the movie I rented. So Carnival Magic is something I'd heard about, which is why I bought it, because I was like, I knew this little bit about it, and that it was lost and found 20 years later in a warehouse. Basically, the story.
So you hadn't seen it as a kid then?
No. No. I bought it, and I put it on, and it got to the part where the chimp does something, which we'll get to. And I just stopped it and was like, I'm gonna see if Ryan wants to come on and talk about this.
Okay, so that's how recent. Okay, I wondered if this was something that you had some experience with.
No. And I know the director and the legacy that he has. And so I knew that there was something to talk about there, but that's literally as far as I got into the movie before I reached out to you and instantly felt a little bad. But I was like, I think Ryan will find some joy in the strangeness of this thing. And then as it progressed, I was more and more excited to talk to you about this movie until the ending where I was like, I mean, if it had been 1 minute shorter, it would have been a masterpiece. But I mean, I understand their decisions.
Well, let's not jump that far ahead,
Yeah.
but I have to say I love this movie.
Great.
You know, I don't want to be dismissive if I call a movie dumb, but
Sure.
this is like fun. Again, it understands its assignment, but also its assignment is so weird. What are you trying to do? And they're trying to delight children, and I think the thing of it is that
This,
Al Adamson, and again, I want to say for the record, I not a giant fan. I don't know tons of his work.
yeah.
I was looking through his filmography. I'm like, I maybe have seen one or two
I've
of
seen
these. I
two.
honestly,
That's it.
I haven't seen a ton of his movies,
Mm-mm.
and it's a real blind spot. I'd like to see it. I saw that set, I
Yes.
believe that
Yeah.
that Severn put out as
Mhm.
well, which is now like hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
I'm sure.
And I almost bought it once or twice and thought, but I'm like, I don't know this. I don't know any
Yeah.
of these movies. I already blind buy enough films. And
Yeah.
sometimes you get treasures, and sometimes you're like, ah,
Right.
what do I do with this
A
now?
box set of this? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, if I get this, and I love some of these movies, that's a win. But if I get some of these and I'm like, oh, this is all not what I'm into. However, watching this, I feel like I should have, because it's very much a 70s exploitation film,
Yeah.
even though it's shot in the 80s. It's
Right.
very much shot like a lot of the stuff we watch from the 70s from New World Pictures. So
Mhm.
the way he shoots, it's not particularly like flashy.
No.
He's not trying to put a big visual stamp on the Blu-ray. It also comes with this is his penultimate film. His last film as
Mhm.
well is also on it. So I did watch that,
Yeah, I did too.
which is a little bit more of a perfunctory sort of kids TV movie. It feels like a TV movie
Yeah,
more.
it did. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was fine, but like not. I mean,
It's no
a little
Carnival
girl
magic.
loses her horse because her stepdad won't let her keep it for no good reason, and then she goes off, gets lost, meets an old hobo out in the wilderness,
Yes.
who luckily is not a complete psycho deranged creep, which is, I mean, maybe it speaks to my movie taste, but I completely expected, especially the guy they cast,
Yeah.
to be a complete madman, but he wasn't.
Much like Great Land of Small had a similar character where we
Yeah,
were like, oh
right.
no, he's gonna eat her. But then like,
Right.
oh nope, he's just magic or something.
Yeah, for some reason the guy just did the right thing, which I'm
Mhm.
like, this sends up, also, if kids are watching this, that sends a bad message. Because
Right.
you're like, well, if I get lost, some creepy old dude with a beard will just, help me out. That's not always the case, kids.
No.
That's just in this instance. Speaking of, it's also the reason why I loved it, physical media, because like you said,
Mhm.
it's a movie that was lost.
Yeah.
And they found it and can only really exist now in this form,
Yep.
because the special feature on the disc talks about how it has literally gone through vinegar syndrome, and the film itself, which
Yeah.
they only found this film in somebody's closet, they had to restore it so you could watch it.
Yeah.
So it was required. So it's like, this is why physical media exists, because
Yeah.
it restores films.
Yeah. Also, the cover has this wonderful whimsy that would just attract a child because you'd be like, ooh, look at this dancing chimpanzee dressed like Evil Knievel. This movie
These
must
colorful
be,
boxes.
This movie must be so fun.
And what you get is a down and dirty carnival.
Oh gosh, so down and dirty. The film follows a man who is actually magic, and he's in a carnival, and he
Yes.
has a talking chimpanzee. But I think
Yes.
it's really about how life is pain and suffering, and there's nobility in suicide. I think it's what the kids' movie's really teaching you. It's directed by Al Adamson. He did 33 films, like Psycho, A Go-Go, and Dracula vs. Frankenstein. Sadly, he was murdered by a live-in contractor he hired
Yeah.
to work on his house, and he was buried beneath his floor.
Yeah. And the only reason they found it, well, he was buried underneath, I believe, where his like jacuzzi used to be, or a
Oh,
spa.
yeah.
And that was removed in order to do so. And I think I may be telling the story wrong, but I believe his housekeeper or something
Yeah, I
was
think
like,
that's-
what's up with that?
Yeah.
And that's how they ended up going, what's in here then? And that's how they were able to unearth his body from
So
being
dark.
yeah. And he ends his career with these two kids, quote unquote, films and then he's murdered by a contractor.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wild. There's a couple different TV docs about this murder because it is so strange.
Yeah, well, it sounds wild.
Yes. This film, though, starts off with carnival footage, and it already feels sad. This is what I said. Disco Fever is probably my favorite act of the carnival, which is just two women in swimsuits not dancing to disco, really, but in front of a sign that says Disco Fever.
Yep. They're just there for color.
Sure.
Just to add some, look at this fun stuff that's happening here.
Hey kids, do you like this? Here's some ladies dancing. How about one of your main characters is the PR person of a carnival? Yes, right. Every carnival has a PR person.
I did not even know that existed. I didn't know that was a job. Who has a series of amazing Hawaiian shirts.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, amazing.
It's also difficult to figure out anyone's age in this, but none of them are children. So it's like, good, perfect.
And that PR guy is supposed to be one of the younger ones, and I was sitting there thinking he wears a lot of Hawaiian shirts tucked in to jeans with a belt, and I was like, I'm getting pretty old. This could be my look now.
Oh, nice.
I think I've aged into this. I may be putting this off. I may have aged into it a little bit ago, and I might be getting to this a bit late, but I should be jumping into this, into that style.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready.
Getting into the carnival magic. I like it. That's excellent.
He also has a scene where he talks to Buddy, who is the carnival owner's daughter.
Yeah, Stoney's daughter.
But she goes by Bud. And they have a scene together, which is right off the bat, which is totally contentious.
Yes.
And does not at all signal that later on these two would become a romantic item.
Yes.
At all. That comes out of the blue.
Yeah. I was very uncomfortable with how everything unfolded within this movie.
It is so disconcerting, not the least of which is Alex's voice. Alex, the chimp.
We almost got to that.
His voice is... if you don't enjoy his voice, if the voice of the chimp does not amuse you, you might have a hard time getting through this movie.
Yes, I agree. First, a carny winks at two teens making out, which I was like, this is even creepier.
Yeah.
And then
oh my God.
Our magician is psychic with dogs and tigers. And then I wrote, like, he really is. Like, it's not a trick.
No. And then he reads their minds.
Yes.
Like the commentary on the disc, the moderator was like, so why can he communicate with the animals? And it's with the guy who came up with the story for the movie, and he's the producer, and he was like, well, he can read their minds. And I'm like, you don't understand, sir. That is not clear from your film.
Yeah. No. In fact,
at one point, Markov says, while he's driving around with Bud, he thinks of animals as children. And he says, we all are. So is that how you can read an animal's mind? Because you just think of them as children? And then he's like, I don't do anything that incredible. I'm like, you can read an animal's mind. Yeah. That is insane. Of course you can do something.
There's two things surrounding this man's life that are incredible, and no one's impressed by either one of them. If anything, the tiger guy is frustrated and mad that he can read people's minds. And the other thing is he has a talking chimp, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, they're more excited about him wearing a cape than they are about the fact that he's fucking talking to them. It's so insane. And when Alex first speaks, when I paused the movie to be like, I'm going to see if Ryan will come on and talk about this,
I'm so glad you thought of me. That you're watching this movie, you're like, wow, this is... Alex starts talking, you're like, let me get on the phone.
Well, because we did Great Land of Small, Ryan. I was like, Ryan's my family, quotes, family movie guy. So this genre, I apologize, but every time I find one.
I do not, on purpose, become part of this circle, but here I am.
Yeah, that's how my brain works. I apologize. But
that's where I am. That's how I'm categorized.
Yeah, my brain was like, well, he did
family movie guy.
Did one movie, so we gotta give this one to him too. His voice is so gruff. It sounds like a gruffer George Burns or something.
Hello. I'm Alex.
And people laugh at his jokes that aren't even jokes.
They aren't.
He's like, here's a candy bar. And you're like, okay. I guess.
Like, when he started talking, I was kind of shocked.
Yes.
Because there really is a million ways you could go with a chimp's voice. There's just a million ways. We've all seen enough animated films.
Yeah.
There's just a ton of ways you can go. And they went somewhere I never would have thought. You said, Ryan, try out 10 different chimp voices. I never would have gone with the thing they settled on. I'm like, oh, chimp's voice. Again, caveat being for a kid's film. Let me think.
For a child.
Never would have gone like,
Yeah, I'm the star.
Like, that was not the voice. And so as it went on, I just fell more and more in love with it and just found it more and more amazing. I was like, how did you think this was going to be high entertainment for children?
I love this question currently in my brain when I watch something. I'm like, who is this for? And when I was watching this, every decision, I was like, but I mean, who was the person happy with this?
Who were you trying to please? Because again, I was watching this and starting it.
Yeah.
It's about a carnival. Okay, the chimp talks. Okay, this is weird. And I started thinking, should I watch this with my kids? And I was like, no, I don't think I should watch. And it's not because I think the movie is just like it's too weird or it'll freak them out.
Yeah.
I almost think they would just be like, what is this? It isn't for them. It's a 70s, even though it's shot in the 80s, it's a 70s exploitation film that is targeted to children. It's a very hard subgenre to square for a child.
Well, and everyone's backstory is just riddled in suffering and pain. Every single story, anytime someone starts talking, I'm like, oh god, here we go. And it's like Markov the magician says his wife died, and then all he had was Alex the talking chimp.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, that's
his
like the
his wife died, so he taught his chimp how to talk.
Yes, yeah.
That's how he dealt with his grief.
Oh.
Bud has her femininity or her agency taken away, stripped by her dad, who's like, you're a boy. I'm going to call you Bud because your mom left us, so I don't want you to become your own woman.
Yes.
Which is very sad.
Yes.
Let her be a person, dude. The guy who's the Kirk, who's the guy who controls the animals,
right,
does not get along with them in any way.
They hate him so much.
They hate him. The one girl who stuck by him the entire time he beats up.
Yes.
I'm like, what? How are you going to explain to kids, you got to understand he's a drunk.
Right. Well, you gotta have
he's
alcoholism in there.
He's just a drunk and he's just angry, and that's why he hits women who love him.
Yeah.
How is this like, this is fun. And again, the producer thought this could be a TV show. He thought it could be a Saturday morning TV show. Yeah. He says it in the commentary. He's like, I think it still could be a good TV show. No. Just following the carnival.
No, sir. No.
Oh, sir. This is a dark carnival.
And then Markov's going to get kicked out of the carnival, so he reveals his amazing chimp, which is just doing chores. And Stoney is just like, this is incredible. He hasn't even talked yet. It's like, what?
The scene where he's suddenly super impressed. He's not impressed that the chimp talks.
No.
He's impressed that he can go off and get things and bring them back to him.
Orange juice.
And then he kisses him on the lips at the end.
Yep.
I was like, what?
And the very next scene, Markov has a Markov and Alex shirt where I was like, how did he make that? He just has the iron on letters? Like, I remember that in the 70s in malls.
That wonderful white with the red ribbing along the collar and the sleeves and the red letters. In the commentary, the moderator's like, do you have any more of those shirts? Because I feel like that would sell. And I'm like, you are not wrong.
No.
I would love one of those shirts.
If Vinegar Syndrome put that shirt out, I would have been day one. Oh, I'm there.
Yeah, I would grab that immediately.
Markov's assistant in the film is Al Adamson's real wife, Regina Carroll. Mm-hmm. She says her ex-boyfriend was arrested for theft, so Markov shares his dead wife's story because this is for kids and families. That's what we want to hear about. Everyone's
There's nothing more fun for kids than watching two middle-aged people with tragic pasts come together and fall in love, sort of.
Right. Well, it is fun when you add Alex stealing a car with a sleeping woman in the back of it. And then he just drives like an insane chimpanzee.
And that's the comedy scene. That's the funny.
Oh, that's the funny when he says,
that's the funny, like,
fruit
look at the
chimps. Fruit salad, he says as he drives through a fruit stand.
That's the scene that you're supposed to be like, Alex is crazy. I love him. You're
If the
supposed to
lady
be
wasn't
like an
crying
8-year-old
for
going,
help,
this chimp is me. I love this chimp.
she's like, please stop. And he's like,
He's kidnapped a lady who didn't know, and now he could potentially kill her.
yes. And then the cops are like, it's a ghost car. And then the other cop says, no, it's King Kong because it's being driven by a monkey. And there's no repercussions. So I'm like, why did this
Nope.
even happen?
He jokes later, he's like, you got like a suspended license for 6 months or
Yeah.
something, is like his joke later. And
Oh
I'm like,
my
no,
God.
he nearly murdered a woman. So we got over that fast.
Oh, my goodness. And
Oh, by the way, if we can go back to
Yeah.
their walk through the forest.
Oh, please.
When he brings up his wife dying, she says, I hope I'm getting this quote right.
Oh, you are.
I know it's none of my business, but isn't it time you forgot?
Yes, forgot. Not moved on.
Isn't it time you forgot about your dead wife and your unborn child? Isn't it time you just let that go? Just forget about it. I was like, wow.
He's like, I would forget, but Alex keeps going, thanks for teaching me to talk after your wife was tragically murdered with your unborn child. This is a kid's movie.
Oh my God, I just fell out over that. I was like, yeah, not like, hey, maybe it's time to, move on. It was just like, don't you think you should forget about it? Like, it's none of my business, but I'm making it absolutely my business by telling you, just forget about that stuff.
It's such a good message for children. Oh my God, I'm crying. Well,
I just was watching that again today, and I just was like, that is so funny. I mean, I'm losing the words. It just is an amazing quote.
it is. It's so good. And it keeps coming back in a way where he keeps going. There's a part later on where he's like, somebody said something to me in some of those similar words, which was basically about moving on, but he's referencing when she told him to forget. Oh, he really can't forget anything. The PR guy asks Markov personal questions, which leads to Markov saying that his parents were murdered. Everyone's backstory is worse than you think.
He's raised by missionaries. And why is that necessary to the story? Is that to explain, maybe somehow to explain why he has like magic powers?
I don't know.
I mean, because they don't really explain why he has magic powers.
Nobody cares. That's the weird part about the movie, is he's like making people levitate like himself and disappear. He's got a talking chimp, and everyone's just like, yeah, of course. Whatever.
By the way, I gotta shout out the guy who's playing Markov,
Oh, yeah.
Don Stewart.
Yes.
I really feel like another element, when I was watching it again today, I thought something that's really nailing it, because watching it a second time, sometimes we'll be like, was I crazy the first time?
Yeah.
The second time you're like, oh, no. This is everything I thought it was. Okay, great. But he cements this because he is taking this 100% seriously.
Completely.
This is not a joke to him.
Mm-mm.
To be fair, none of the other actors are like, oh, I'm in this dumb film. Their acting skills will all vary. And so you will enjoy each performance perhaps somewhat differently, but none of them are, I'm just doing a dumb movie and then I'll move on to something better. They're all giving this their earnest best.
Oh, yeah.
And Don Stewart is trying his best to like, no, this is a story. I'm going to give it everything I have. I'm going to try to absolutely make this story work with this insane story. And I really feel like that's what really helps make this story work, because he is doing his best to give it the gravitas, to give it the emotional beats, and the voice of the chimp is like, hey, that coupled with his performance, like, I want to make this work. I'm a professional. And then Alex's voice, it's like, I think it's the key to why this film was just so enjoyable to me.
That and the next scene where Alex goes and steals women's undergarments, where I was like, oh no, this is not good.
Oh no.
He was so excited. He's like, oh, cantaloupes or something. He talks about something about the bra, and I was just like, oh, this is the best kids film.
And she comes in, she's like, Alex. I'm like,
yes. And then they
kids love bra humor.
Yes.
That's not, that's not something that they just don't understand and would get weirded out by. That's something they love and have fun with.
Give the monkey a bra. So they introduce a scientist who wants to dissect the chimpanzee.
The scientist with a dubbed voice. Why is his voice dubbed? There is no need. He's dubbed with like a German accent by someone who's clearly not him.
Oh my gosh. It is so absurd.
Why? What does he want to do with Alex? He wants to vivisect him and take his organs.
Yeah.
What would that accomplish?
They say that later on. They say vivisect, which is funny that you're wearing a skinny puppy shirt. But
yes, it's true.
But
it's true.
Yeah, I was like, oh, kids gotta have vivisection in a kid's movie. That's necessary.
Yeah, and to what end? What is he going to do with the like, oh, he's a really incredible specimen, so let's take all of his organs and do what?
There's no end game, really.
What is the end? Oh, my God. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, continue.
Well, Markov bends steel with his fucking mind, and then so does a guy named Gus, because this is Scanners for Kids, is what I wrote. Like, he just stares into people's brains and can make them have super strength.
Yeah, he manipulates their minds.
Oh my gosh.
I also loved every scene where they're doing magic, because when you're in a movie, there's nothing that incredible about it. But again, that's, I think, where they're trying to appeal somewhat to the kids.
Yeah.
You can cut around literally anything. You can make anything work in terms of magic, but the magic scenes don't really do anything. Some of the early scenes where Markov is doing magic has nothing to do with Alex.
Oh yeah, and his assistant,
Alex
you
is
can
there,
just
but he's
see
still
through her top, which was very weird for a kid's movie. I was just like, she's wearing a sheer top, like for children. Okay, well, the bra wasn't hers that Alex stole, so.
I just thought they were all, and the music in those magic scenes was really good. I really dug the score in here. It was like a little Manhunter-esque.
Yeah.
At times, it was like, wow, how interesting.
They're like, Manhunter for kids. I got it. I got the vibe.
Like, really interesting. Except for the scene where Alex is fighting all the dudes, all the hospital interns that are in there, trying to like, with one scientist in the corner with a chair.
Yes. Well, first, before we get to that...
I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I'm so excited about this movie.
Stoney has to cry in the woods. We're seeing this grown man cry. And then Markov walks up and is just basically...
For children.
Yeah, he's telling him, like, well, you gotta just move on. Someone once said that to me. Like, no, she told you to forget.
That's right. Forget all of your dark past.
Yep.
That's how you do it. You just take it, kids. When tragic things happen, you take it, you forget it, which means you just bury it deep inside of you. You never deal with it, and you just try to never think about it, and it will never come out in terrible ways.
It's my new way of coping with things. I call it Carnival magic.
It totally works. Yes. It's 100% way it works, and it doesn't have tragic consequences ever.
Oh man, next Alex is abducted and assaults a nurse. She has to literally escape from the hospital room. And then Kurt Wilder assaults a woman. And then Alex the chimp wills himself to death, basically, is the next three things in this children's movie.
He poisons himself.
The scientist says tomorrow vivisection. And then they say it's a dissection of living organisms for science. And then the entire Carney clan is like stalking the laboratory.
Like everybody.
And then we learned that the talking chimp chose to drink poison.
Yeah. And then he tries to mind meld with him.
Yes.
No, that's not right. And he's like, I can't.
So there's
just taking poison ruins your magic. I don't know how that works.
First, they try to perform CPR on him, which is not a good cure for poison. And
it's not how poison works.
It's not how poison works. And then Markov, there's a flatline for like 4 minutes, and Markov says, "Alex, I don't have the power to make you live." And Alex is just flatlining.
Yeah.
And then it's no use. He's gone.
Hey kids, how you doing? You guys need a snack?
They say it's no use, he's gone. I'm sorry, his heart couldn't take the strain
of being away from him for I don't
poisoning
know.
himself. And then Markov says, I wish it had been me. And I wrote again, he's been flatlining for so long.
For so long.
Like, when this chimp comes back, it's gonna see one of those dead kids from the original Flatliners, like, for sure. Just calling him expletives.
When it comes back, it has the exact voice you would think.
Yeah, he just opens his eyes after Markov says, I wish it was me. And then, that's it. That's the end of this very fun family movie.
What a good time.
Thanks for coming back.
I was listening to one of your episodes today. You and Sarah talk about Jurassic World and Chris Pratt putting his finger up at the dinosaur and how people have a problem with that.
Yeah.
How about Markov's "You don't fear me"? And he
Yes.
just tells animals.
The tigers that have their ears down already, and he's like,
Yeah.
"You don't fear me."
You're like, yes, they don't. They're
They-
not angry at
It
you right
doesn't
now.
care at all. It hates Kurt, but it hates that dude.
It's like sleep telling a sleeping animal, continue to sleep. I'm not a threat. Like, yeah, they are.
Just standing over a sleeping cat. You're not going to attack me. You're not. This is all that's happening. It's like, yeah, you're not affecting that animal in the slightest
No,
bit.
the animal is sleepy. It's sleeping this off. Yeah.
Wow, I am lightheaded.
Yeah. I watched it, and then I watched that special feature and saw how it was restored. And they started
So
taking it out to
cool.
movie theaters, and I was like, I would love to watch this with a crowd. And I absolutely see
Oh my
why
gosh, yeah.
it had that second life. And what's funny about listening to the commentary is that it does not seem like Elvin Feltner understands that element of it.
Sure.
Again,
yeah.
he still thinks this would make a good children's show. I don't think he understands. This does not work very well.
It'd be
as
the worst children's show because anytime someone caught up with anything, they would be like, "Hey, how are you? My grandparents died in a fire," and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, what?"
And then, not only does this movie end, and it should have been a TV show, it was going to be a TV show, it ends with the promise of a sequel
Oh yeah.
that we never get.
Well, it was lost for 20 years, so hopefully someone now can make Carnival Magic 2.
Right. What is it? Carnival Magic Rides Again, I think? Is that what it was? I can't remember what the
I
end
don't
was.
Remember.
I don't remember.
I
either.
had so many things that I was so excited to talk about.
It is really an amazing film. I'm happy that I stuck to this one, that I
Right.
didn't go, forget that one.
Yeah.
Because if I had, and then I did eventually get the disc
Yeah.
and watched it, and then I had no opportunity to talk about this movie,
Right.
I would have been angry because I would have been like, no, I have to talk about this movie. How? I have to talk about it with someone.
Well, and I thought maybe because you buy a lot of physical media, so I thought maybe
Yes.
you picked up the box set or something. So maybe you already had this in some fashion. So when you tweeted at me like, "I bought it, but it hasn't arrived," I was like, "Oh no." I got someone to buy this movie. Like,
To be fair, they were having a sale,
great, yeah, that's true.
and I was like, okay, well, they're having a sale. That's fine. I'll pick it up. And
That's when I got it too. Yeah,
but it's worth grabbing. I mean,
I think
it's
so. I don't think it's a hard to watch movie at all. I think it's one of the things that are just like every decision. I'm like, this is fascinating. Like by the time you
Yes.
realize that everyone's backstory is just utter horrific pain and sorrow, I was like, oh my gosh. And anytime someone starts talking, with the exception of the love story that is just bewildering, because I'm like, he seems like he's closer to her dad's age than like Stony, but all right.
Yes.
And like you said,
I
the
guess it's
performers are
about, it's
great.
really more, even them getting together is more like the journey for Stony himself.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
guess it's sort of her story of being able to like finally, be her own woman to a
Yeah.
degree, but by being her own woman, she's marrying a dude. So
Right.
I don't know. I feel like she had other dreams, I'm
She's
sure.
moving from
but-
one controlling to another, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. But like, yeah. No, that's true.
And the PR guy has a whole history with his PR dad that he doesn't like. Nobody has had a good life in any of this.
Also, if we can talk about the credit scenes, the end credit scenes,
Oh yeah.
where we have Markov on a parade kissing every woman in the crowd.
He's in their minds. It's like, kiss the Markov, kiss him. Mhm.
I think he kisses so many women. I'm
Yeah.
like, why is every woman trying to kiss him? And is that a thing?
Well, for good luck, you kiss magicians, I think is how it is.
For like in a parade, you're like, hey, there's a magician I like at
Kiss
the
him.
carnival. I'm gonna run up to his moving vehicle and kiss him on the lips.
Yes.
I don't attend a lot of parades. That was something that I was like, wow, is that a thing?
Well, I mean, it's going to be real fun the next time you go to one. Erica will be like, stop asking me. And I'm like, I just need to know if any of these are magicians. Putting on chapstick.
Are you a magician? Can I kiss you on your lips? And he's in like a nondescript car. Oh, by the way, the sequel will be called More Carnival Magic.
Oh,
That's
no.
what the sequel is going to be called.
I love this. I love that so much.
Carnival Magic Strikes Again, or whatever I was thinking before. that works too well. We
Yeah.
needed more Carnival Magic. Because when you want to go to the sequel, it's just like, what's just more of what you just watched?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
You
They're
remember
being very honest.
I'm back.
Yep. Yeah. I'm Alex. Have some fruit salad.
It's so funny too, watching this type of film by yourself. It's like such a weird experience because then when you get to talk to someone else about it, it becomes so funny. But I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was dead silent watching it, just going, "Wait, what? Oh, interesting."
Because I'm trying to contain myself and take in what I'm seeing.
When they
And then later, I think I was watching this when my wife was asleep. So later, I was like, "Oh yeah, I have to go on this podcast and talk about that movie I was watching last night." She's like, "Oh, the Carnival Chimp movie," and that made me laugh. I was like, inside, but I couldn't laugh outwardly because I'm like, she has no idea. She didn't watch this movie. She has no idea.
Did
and I
you
was like,
just-
"Yes,
you
that
went,
movie."
Yep.
And she's like, "Okay, good." I mean, I'm sure she's thinking, "Okay, have fun with that." Whatever that is.
I wonder if Billy Bob Thornton saw this movie and was like auditioning
Yeah.
for Sling Bait or whatever, and he's like, "I've got a voice." No one's seen this movie. It's been lost for 20 years.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
if someone was like, come up with a voice for a chimpanzee for a kid's movie, I wouldn't think, oh, Billy Bob Thornton and Sling Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Kids will love this.
Kids love that.
Oh my
Ugh.
gosh. Any other voice would have been like, okay, I see what they're doing. But the
But
second
if it was any other voice, the movie wouldn't
no,
be
it
as
wouldn't
amazing
work.
as it is.
wouldn't
I really think that was such a crucial decision to contrast Don Stewart's very stoic, straight-laced performance.
Yeah.
Just the marriage of the two is just
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, really great. Really great. I feel like if I watched it with the kids, they'd just be so confused. Like, why?
Are you trying to bum us out? Is that what this is about?
Why would you make us watch this?
It seems like you're warning us about a lot of things.
Yeah,
Mostly
yeah,
stranger
just-
danger and carnivals.
Yeah. I mean, I'm no expert on it, but it doesn't seem accurate probably for what I think carnivals might be, filled with a lot of people with sad stories.
Yeah. Well,
You know, trying to forget
yeah.
everything bad that's happened to them.
Which is everything. Everything leading up to today was rife with suffering.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
The lives of Cenobites have less suffering than the people in Carnival
Right.
Magic.
When
Oh.
Pinhead shows up, you'd be like, I'm sorry, I've got Alex the Chimp. You really couldn't do anything to me that would rival.
Suffering. Fruit salad. God.
Even Pinhead would be like, look at him grab things. He would be delighted.
Is he sweeping right now? This is amazing. Okay, well.
Oh, give me a kiss, Alex.
Give me one of those shirts. Okay, any final thoughts for Carnival Magic?
I just think people need to watch this movie.
Yeah.
You need to watch this film. You need to do it. You need to grab it.
Yeah.
You need to watch it.
Support Severin Kids because maybe they've got more of this up their sleeve and they're going to keep giving us these weird. And I always think of it like as kids' films and it's Severin Kids, but it really was these family quote unquote movies in the video store that were just like so bizarre that somebody was made by someone that doesn't have children, but they're like, this will appeal to everyone in the family. And you're like, no, this is very dark. And, you know, kids enjoy in this day and in that day and age, you know, alcoholic birds and stuff, sure, but not people per se.
Yeah, telling dark stories, but it's in a carnival, so that's why kids will love it.
It's such a dark carnival.
What?
I love that they don't show really like rides or anything. They show the Disco Fever girls and then just inside the two tents. Also, why were they planning the Tiger Act at the same time as the Magician Act? Didn't they?
I know. Why wouldn't you space that out? There's room for them both.
Yeah.
Easily.
They're like, it's all showing at the same time. People make a choice.
That's on Stoney for
seriously.
really being a terrible carnival scheduler. Because why would he? Because the little girl's like, let's go see Alex. Like, why are these at the same time? Why can't you just space the shows out? That would make everyone happy.
Let's write Carnival 2.
More Carnival Magic.
And then we'll do the third one, the most Carnival Magic. And then Carnival Magic.
Even more Carnival Magic.
Carnival Magic kills the final one.
Oh, man.
The origin story of everyone, we could put that out just to really bum everybody out.
Well,
God.
Dirk, thank you for making me buy this and watch it.
It's so weird.
This is a part of my collection, and it is a delight.
I
And
wish that we could get The Great Land of Small on a DVD because I'd love to have it on the shelf next
oh
to
my
it.
God, yes.
So hopefully someday, and I don't want to bum you out, but I've found a third movie for you to come on and talk about.
Oh no. Oh
And
no.
it was the
Well, I
same
mean,
thing. I saw an image online of something I'd never heard of, and I just bought it on just the image. And then I
sure.
was watching it, and I was like, well, if Ryan's still talking to me after Carnival Magic, then we're going to do this one. So
I can't. I mean, if I had hated this, I can't imagine how this episode would have gone. You'd have been like, well, but let's hear more of the story. And I was like, this movie gets drove me nuts. Then you're like, well, but wait. Then also the chimpanzee gets taken to a hospital, and I'd be like, oh, great, yeah. I mean, but luckily I loved it, and I'm so glad we got to talk about it because it is. I'm glad that there is a following, but
yeah,
you are the only person I know who has seen this film besides myself.
You are too, and I got you to buy it.
I know. I may need to show my Thursday night movie group just so I have more people to see it that I can talk to about it.
Yeah, well, I think if you're having adult beverages or whatever I don't know the
Yeah.
format exactly, but I think that would play really nicely. Not that it's necessary,
For sure.
but it
I
just
watched it twice with literally nothing. I just completely sober, and I had an absolutely great time with it both times. But yes,
well,
certainly seeing it with a group of people, it would be incredibly enjoyable. But I think I enjoyed it by myself.
Same,
it's just that I then required an outlet to talk about it, and luckily had one lined up.
I was having a beer when I put it on the first time until it got to where he was like, and then I paused it and was like, I'm going to tweet it, Ryan. And then I didn't drink the beer because I was like, I need to pay attention to what is happening in this
Focus
movie.
up. Focus. This requires your attention.
Oh my gosh.
The amount of stuff that they have him say too. They have Alex often from the back so that they can have him say anything at that point. And then the things they then make him say are just nonsense. Sometimes I can't quite get what they're trying to say.
It's
no
like joke.
And this is supposed to be where every kid will delight in a talking chimpanzee.
There's a part
every single kid
where Markov is mind melding, since we used that term earlier, with Alex, who's reading him through his mind the numbers off a dollar bill.
Yes.
And then Markov's talking and everything, and then he's blindfolded, by the way, people. And then he's like, okay, give the dollar back to the gentleman. And Alex is like, oh, like it's just like there's no joke or anything. He just makes this like, oh. Like he wanted to
I want the dollar.
What's he gonna do with a dollar? Like,
what are you gonna do with it? You have everything bought for you. What are they gonna do with the organs? This movie, no one knows what's happening. It's the carnival.
It's magic. No one needs to know. By the way, though, the magic is real and nobody notices. It's the wildest.
This movie's summed up by Bud's line where some people just don't love the carnival as much as we do.
Yeah.
That's sums up this film.
That's a perfect place to end this because I think we could wax poetically about this.
We really could. I love this movie. I could not enjoy it more.
No, and really... it's, as you said, it's the serious tone that maintains through the nonstop through the full movie. Like Markov is just staring into people's souls. There's not a lot of smiling at all in this movie or joy. And it's just the contrast to the wildness that's happening within this thing is really something.
He has a scene where he walks along with Alex in the dark in the woods.
Yeah.
But you don't see Alex. And he's like, I'm trying to protect you. And he's so earnest and he's so selling it. He's so like, I care about you. I want to make you. And then you find out it's Alex, the talking chimp. Yeah. You don't know what it is at that point. And you're like, this is what you're so loving. And of course, I can understand at the time, the actor doesn't know what voice they're going to apply later.
Right.
So he can actually no, I love this animal and this animal's great. He can talk whatever he says. I don't know what he says. And so he is just applying that. I don't know what he would have thought about this movie later once he hears the voice because the contrast of the two is just
Yeah.
what makes this movie just so great.
Yeah.
It's
Oh my gosh.
and if this is a sign of other Al Adamson movies, and I don't know,
I don't know if it is really, because
I
I've only
don't
seen
know.
2 others and I didn't enjoy them as much as this movie.
I don't know if he hits the mark as much as this, but
Yeah,
this
I'll be checking him
one
out.
got me. I
Yeah.
was like, this got me for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about his other stuff. Who knows if he can top this one?
We might have started at the top of the mountain, but whew. Well,
yeah.
Ryan, we already plugged New World Pictures podcast, but just to remind people, that's where they can find you guys. Do you have a website, or is it all social media?
It is social media right now.
Got it.
We do have a website that that has been in the works for a while, but my brother is like, he said he's very close because he's
cool.
putting it together. That's what my brother kind of does for a living, but he does it for so much, like he doesn't have
Sure,
time.
absolutely.
But he's been working on it for a while, and we're very close
Cool.
to getting a website going. So I could have said, let's just throw something together on one of those make a website things, and my brother would have been like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Because that's what he does.
You know,
That's what he
replace me?
does.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
can't do that. So we're very close to doing that. But right now, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you can find us all there.
Which is New World Pictures podcast, right?
New World Pictures podcast.
Great.
Yes, correct.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for watching Carnival Magic.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
I'm Dirk Marshall, and this has been VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns. Fruit salad.